Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge Studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Means we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up. You are here with us. Middle of the work week here. So we start to work towards the weekend. Just one more day in the saddle for me and then a long weekend. And then we'll lock in for some real postseason baseball. But there is postseason baseball being played at this current juncture there between games over in Hoover, and we're going to get you caught up on all of that. Kokei Riley will join us here in 15 minutes to talk Tigers. He met with Jay Johnson as well as the rest of the media did yesterday, and Kokei will certainly be traveling over to Hoover probably Friday, maybe tomorrow. We'll get his thoughts on the SEC tournament and what LSU needs to get accomplished here over the next few days. However, they're in Hoover. We'll do our SEC Power Rankings in the second hour. Looking forward to that. Blake Baker sound coming up at 2 o'clock. Luke Johnson, normally with us on Thursday, is going to bump up to today at 2:15. So we'll chat with Luke about the Saints coming up an hour and 15 minutes from right now. Let's start things the way we start them every single day, our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, so let's talk about LSU as it relates to postseason play. That's kind of the theme of this week every single year. LSU's not playing until Friday night this week, which is new because of the new format. But one game in LSU's pool has been played, and it was completed a little bit earlier. Texas A&M routs Mississippi State 9-0 was the final. Jay Slaviolette hit a grand slam early in that game. Ryan Prager threw 5 2/3 shutout, and the Aggie bullpen made it stand up. Mississippi State had absolutely nothing to play for in Hoover. They did not throw Pico Khan today. It's a game that did not matter to them at all, and it matters the world to Texas A&M. So that showed. I would suggest Texas A&M is probably a better team than Mississippi State, and certainly a better team with Ryan Prager on the mound than Mississippi State is. But in any event, sometimes you look at motivation, sometimes you just look at execution. A&M, much the better team. So the Aggies continue on in LSU's pod. The Aggies will play Auburn on Thursday now. That game was supposed to be on the rain delays got me all screwed up. I knew they're playing tomorrow. And that game means a lot to Auburn and means a ton to Texas A&M.
Wait, so you're saying there was a rain delay, Hunt?
Yeah, we can get to that. We can just detour and get to that right now.
Remember what you said a few days ago?
I was contacted 4 times yesterday when that game was rained out. 4 times. And my response, one was Patrick Coogan, who said, "You've done it again." And I didn't even know what he was talking about. I was sitting at my kitchen counter dealing with 2 kids, and I go, "What'd I do this time? I can't possibly have screwed up at the kitchen counter." And he said, "You said there weren't going to be any rain delays. Let's look at the SEC schedule." And I was like, well, here's the deal. People really need to stop listening to this show because I can't be held accountable for everything that I say all the time. Sometimes it just needs to slip through the cracks.
No, it's not going to happen, Hunt.
I thought the forecast looked pretty good, but I will say, to my credit, which I need a lot of credit these days, they did build in a lot of extra time on Thursday and Friday where they can play these games. So they're going to get this game played in front of LSU in the bracket and not compromise anybody having to play 2 games in a day or play until 3 o'clock in the morning or all that kind of stuff, assuming the skies cooperate. And I'm looking at a picture right now of the Hoover Met in Hoover, Alabama. It is gorgeous blue skies. I don't see a cloud anywhere. So really, am I that wrong? Maybe, maybe not. You be the judge. But either way, LSU's still playing as scheduled against the Texas A&M and Auburn winner. And I honestly don't have a great answer as to who I would like to play. I think that's the question LSU fans want to ask. One, I don't know who Auburn's planning to throw in the game on Thursday, which is tomorrow. And then you look at Texas A&M, and I'm sure they're going to throw Justin Lampkin, although he did throw a lot of pitches in the outing of his career over the weekend in Athens. That was just a Friday night gem of a game by him. Maybe they throw him. Maybe they throw Patton. Maybe they just pitch off and see what they can do. But the season's on the line, so I'm going to assume Justin Lampkin's going to want the baseball. So that's probably who's going to pitch against Auburn. So Miles Patton probably lines up against LSU. He handcuffed LSU a little bit. He's not very good. But A&M's RPI is much lower, so a loss to them could potentially drop you a spot or two, where a loss to a very, very high RPI Auburn probably wouldn't move you at all. Yet, you're competing against Auburn, and at that point, they would have more quad one wins, a better RPI, and 4-0 record against you. So I can come up with solutions both ways. My gut tells me whether or not LSU beats A&M or loses to A&M, or beats Auburn or loses to Auburn on Friday night, that LSU is still a top 8 unless something really goes haywire with Florida State, Oregon, Hawaii. Those are probably the 3 biggest. I don't think Florida can get there. I don't think Alabama can get there. I suppose anything's possible, but that's the way I feel when I look at the numbers. So to boil this down to really dumb terms, LSU is just better off winning on Friday. Now, as I said yesterday, I'd rather LSU win Friday with a light use of Cade Anderson, get Anthony Ianson out on the mound Saturday, and get out of there. But I can't give you a definitive result now that we know who LSU's opponent's going to be. It's either going to be Auburn or Texas A&M. An A&M loss would hurt worse in terms of your RPI and your resume. An Auburn loss would hurt you relative to Auburn. A win is even more cement in that top 8 national seed. Now, there's nothing right now that's immediately impactful for LSU when I look at the schedule today. Florida State does not play until Friday. They could theoretically work their way towards a top 8 national seed. Right now, when I look at the current RPI, which is now updating as games finalize all over the country, Florida State's RPI is probably not in a position to get a top 8 national seed from the ACC. North Carolina is in good shape there based on what they did over the weekend. And I don't think Georgia Tech can get there, even though they won the league outright by a couple of games because their strength of schedule was pathetic. But if you look at Florida State, they're on the outside looking in unless they get hot in the ACC tournament. And right now they're at a 12, and they don't play until Friday. So they've got a long way to go before we get into Florida State. Now you look at Oregon. That's a team I'm a little fearful of coming in from the outside because they're going to have a Big Ten championship. They could win the Big Ten title. And yes, the Big Ten stinks at baseball. But Oregon does have a strong metric against the RPI top 25, 40, and 60. So that's something to be aware of. And they could theoretically boast 2 championships that LSU doesn't have. And while, yes, anything you do in the SEC to me is going to far trump anything you do in the Big Ten, the selection committee is going to use those metrics as a data point. And that could theoretically impact LSU. Oregon plays Michigan State tomorrow on Thursday, and then Nebraska on Friday. Neither of those is massively impactful from an RPI perspective unless you lose. And if Oregon loses one game over the course of the next 3 days, one time, if they lose, they're out. They got to run the table. So that's the only thing that makes me fearful with Oregon. The other team that I'm looking at, and we talked about this on Monday, but I'll keep reiterating because it actually does, that game is played today, Hawaii. And no, Hawaii's not coming to get a top 8, okay? Obviously. But Hawaii is on Oregon State's resume. I think Oregon State's resume stinks, but their RPI is ahead of LSU, and their RPI quad 1 wins are comparable to LSU. Not as good, but comparable. Right now, they're 10-9, and LSU is 13-10. LSU's got 3 more wins, but the winning percentage is fairly comparable. But if you take the Hawaii series off of Oregon State's metrics, then all of a sudden, Oregon State drops down to 7-8 in quad 1. And that is way different than 13-10 where LSU is. That's a 6-game in terms of wins, and that's a losing record in quad 1. I need Hawaii out of the top 60 to erase all doubt. If Hawaii gets out of the top 60, I cannot make a case for Oregon State. It can't be done. And you may say that's stupid, and I would agree it's probably stupid. 'But, stupid. But, 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 stupid. you can discuss them more deeply, and I'm sure the selection committee does, but I'm just looking right now at Oregon State's resume, and their quad 1 says 10-9. The second it says 7-8 instead because Hawaii's out of the top 60, I feel a lot better. So while I'm trying to avoid the nightmare scenario, just let Hawaii lose a game, and they play one tonight against Cal Santa Barbara. It's at 5 o'clock, and frankly, I'm probably going to watch it. I'll have the SEC game on, but I'll probably monitor Hawaii as well. And if Hawaii loses a game to Cal Santa Barbara and drops out of the top 60, I will probably come on this show tomorrow and say, look, I don't think there's anything to worry about anymore. Because to take LSU out of the top 8, I've got to have somebody in the top 8. And right now, Oregon at 13, creeping in. Oregon State nabbing one of those. And then Florida State charging up from 14 is really all that I'm afraid of with LSU's RPI at 8. So, in short, we've kind of drawn this out, but in short, I don't really care who LSU plays on Friday. You got Cade Anderson. Go win the game. I'm paying attention to Florida State, who starts on Friday. I'm paying attention to Oregon, who starts tomorrow. I'm paying attention to Hawaii, who starts in 4 hours. And I believe that this will be settled from LSU's perspective before they take the field on Friday. But as I sit here right now, I can still conjure this up. So I'm going to enjoy the SEC baseball today. It's going to be really good. The first game was not competitive, although it kind of looked like it was pretty good on paper. I think Alabama and Tennessee is very, very fascinating coming up. Alabama's RPI is 9. I don't think they're a huge threat to go get a top 8 unless they run the table. LSU beat Alabama 2 out of 3. I'm looking at my SEC Power rankings, and Alabama, over the course of the last 7 series, are 2-7, and one of those wins is Missouri. So I don't think that Alabama's a huge threat, but don't let them get hot. They're not in LSU's bracket, so it's not really LSU's concern. But Alabama, to win this thing, would have to beat Tennessee and then beat Texas and then take on either Arkansas, LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss, Florida. So theoretically, maybe, but that's a long way away as far as me trying to map that out. If I got into all those scenarios, we'd be here a minute. So I think LSU's okay, but probably the best medicine for my concern would be to just win the game on Friday. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis. We'll talk to Kokei Riley about all this when we come back next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Chugging along here, Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Not a great day to be out at the pool today in Baton Rouge, but a lot of those days are on the horizon. If you want to get into the pool of your dreams, contact Renaissance Homes and Pools. Call Joey directly or find him online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. Kokei Riley covers the LSU Fighting Tiger baseball squad for The Advocate, joins us every single Wednesday, does so now before he heads to Hoover. Kokei, how are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
It's going quite well. They were in a little bit of bind there. Last time we spoke on Friday, had lost the season opener kind of in stunning fashion with Zach Cowan on the mound, but their two aces stepped up, and the offense was good enough the last 2 days to get it done. Kind of workmanlike Friday and Saturday. How'd you characterize the last two wins?
Yeah, workmanlike, getting your business done, all that sort of stuff. I think that's exactly what happened in the latter half of this series, and there are some dicey moments in those games as well. They didn't dominate to the level that you would have figured they would dominate at, except for maybe the end of the second game. But you know, you had to get the wins, and you got the wins, and now you're in the spot heading into the SEC tournament where you don't have too much pressure on yourself now.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that unless a lot of things happen consecutively. I think LSU's in really good shape. Offensively for LSU, not the huge outburst that Auburn put or Florida put on South Carolina, but was there a player or two that you saw swinging the bat you thought they could use that out of this guy?
Well, Jake Brown against righties and Ethan Fry against lefties. I mean, those two guys have become, pretty elite hitters against those sorts of pitching, that sort of pitching. And not to say that, Jake Brown can't face lefties or Ethan Fry can't face righties. I think Fry had a hit or two on the final game of the series as well. But those guys are pretty good athletes with really good swings, and they see the ball well out of those slots. So, I think that's fairly promising. If you're LSU offensively, Jared Jones playing better is promising as well, even though, again, a lot of his home runs this season have come off of, weaker competition. So you want him to, step up as we head into the postseason and whatnot. But, it's better that he's playing better for LSU than not, right? So you have that going for you. And, it's odd because, like, this team, I still I don't think they have like bad lineup depth, because I still think like a guy like Chris Stanfield's better than most 9 hitters across the country, if not all of them. And even the back half of the order where, like Luis Hernandez can do something occasionally, and you don't have total zeros at the plate offensively in that back half of the order. But yet, I still think, the weakness of this team is on offense. And I think, if the top guys do what they're supposed to do, that would go a very long way. Because again, I don't think it's a depth issue necessarily. It's more of a, the top guys just trying to be the top guys,
I find Jared Jones's emergence particularly interesting once you got out of that gauntlet of talented arms and you saw how he performed early in the season and how he performed in the midweek, and then you realize the teams are going to be coming in here in a regional, and you feel like, I would put him as an early pick for regional player of the weekend, MVP, if you will, just because, you face Liam Doyle, it may be a little bit of a challenge, but you drop it down one notch, and he seems to do pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ethan Fry is a really interesting guy, too, because this is a guy we know can mash lefties. They faced a ton of lefties this season, and there have been times where he's been one of the only guys who's hit against that pitching. Think of the Texas A&M series, right, where he is hitting the cover off the ball while almost everyone else is struggling. And I was looking at, ESPN's latest draft rankings, and Ethan Fry cracked the top 150, and Jared Jones didn't. Which I thought was really interesting, and it kind of shows how, I even talked to another scout about Fry the other day, and how he is kind of, raised up the ranks a little bit in terms of how he's viewed, nationally as a pro prospect, even, not just as a player on the field. So I find him really interesting. I find Jared, obviously, he's so important to them and their success. Derek Curiel, when this offense was humming, it was when he was on that 40-some-odd game hitting on base streak, right? And I think him trying to get closer to where he was then it would be big as it heads into the postseason, because obviously it was hard to really rely on a freshman as much as they relied on him early on. And when you saw the offense start to struggle a little bit as well.
Jaden Newton, Chase Shores, your thoughts on those two guys as they enter the postseason?
They're in interesting spots. These are two guys who are kind of aligned in a lot of ways, right? Like Shores was number one pitcher out of Texas. Newt was the number one pitcher out of California. They both, unfortunately, have to undergo Tommy John surgery their freshman years, pretty much wiping out their entire sophomore years, and for Newt, his entire freshman year as well. And there were a lot of expectations for these two guys heading into this season, back when they were freshmen, and for Shores, just heading into the season period. And for Shores, it's been a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, if we're being perfectly honest here. But I think he's looked better overall. I think the mechanical changes have helped him out. I think him closing off his stance a little bit and sort of hiding that arm slot is help plate up the fastball a little bit, and now that he can release, he can just throw 100 without thinking, and I think that sort of helps him, and it plays up the slider as well. So I think he's looked a little bit better, even if the command still isn't quite where you'd want it to be. But with Newt, he's just slowly gotten better throughout the year. The more comfortable he's gotten on the mound, and the further away he gets from that surgery, the better the command is, and that's exactly what you want to see. And this guy he's a talented guy. People forget that this is someone who could have easily been picked in the first 5 or so rounds of the draft coming out of high school, and he decided to come here instead. So the power of Jay Johnson's West Coast connections really coming through, and injuries kind of marred the first 2 years of his career, but now as he's sort of getting out of that, he's looked much, much better. I'm really interested to see if they try to stretch him this weekend. Maybe get him to 3 or 4 innings more comfortably. I know he retired 12 straight against South Carolina, but 1, that's South Carolina, and 2, he did get hit a little bit toward the end of that outing. So if you can really stretch him out and he can be a really solid 3 or 4 inning option for you, that really, really changes the way you look at this pitching staff heading into regional and even heading into the super regional in Omaha. So he's become a really interesting guy now for them. He's become one of the guys you have to trust in these situations.
I completely agree. Y'all talked to Jay yesterday about the way he's going to approach this tournament and how he feels about where they stand in the top 8. He was pretty adamant. We're top 8. We've earned that. Do you think that's just talking to the committee? Do you think he believes that? And then in using that information, how do you think he handles Friday?
Well, of course he's talking to the committee, right? Like, he's not doing his job if he's not talking to the committee,
Sure.
to, at least to somewhat, right? But I don't know if I totally agree with them last year where it was like, oh, we're easily a tournament team. And that was like after the Ole Miss series, when I don't think that was necessarily the case. And then they proved that on the field. But I think I agree with them this time, though, that I think they're a top 8 team. I think they deserve to be a top 8 team. I know the metrics say they're more borderline than they are the number 1 team, but like they're really somewhere between 1 and 8. I don't think they're somewhere in between 5 and 12. I think that's kind of the best way I would describe it. Is this the best team in the country? I don't know. I don't know who is the best team in the country. But were they one of the 8 best teams in the country? Can you name 8 teams that are better than this team? I don't think you can. So, I mean, maybe, right, I know, people kind of freaked out a little bit over D1 baseball putting them at number 7 after they were number 2 the week before. I'd be surprised if they're not, somewhere in that range, even if they lose on Friday, to be honest with you. But I think winning on Friday is important for different reasons, though, because I think it's better to have Anderson and Ianson throw before you get into a regional situation. I think having those 2 guys, having one of those 2 guys be off for 2 whole weeks, basically, would be great. So I think if you win that game, you get at least 2 games in, and you also further fortify your spot as a top 8 team.
Yeah, I think 18 innings is the perfect amount for this team in Hoover. 1 win, 1 loss, get on out. As far as handling Cade Anderson on Friday, he's had a heavy workload, as has Ianson, but you got to cross the Anderson bridge first, we assume. You'd imagine he'll start. Do you think it's a full go, 114 pitches? Do you think it's somewhere closer to 90?
I think it's somewhere closer to 90. I mean, we saw with Paul Skeens 2 years ago where he was stuck in a 30-pitch inning, and he was at 60-something pitches, and Jay just said, enough. We're not doing this because there's just too much stress we're putting on his body for a game that just doesn't matter enough.
Yeah.
And he talked about that a little bit yesterday, and I think if they run into that kind of situation this time around, then, yeah, I think he'll do that. But if he's at 90 pitches in the 7th inning and there's 2 outs, Anderson or Ianson, honestly, if they're either and those 2 guys have cruised to that point, then they'll keep him out there probably. So I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on the score and the situation, but I would be really surprised to see either of them get over 100 pitches.
I would too. Safe travels over to Hoover, Kokei. Enjoy it while you're there, and we'll see you at the box next week.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much.
He's Kokei Riley, beat reporter for The Advocate. He'll be in Hoover. You can follow him along at Kokei Riley on Twitter. Always good enough with a little bit of time here on these Wednesdays. All right, we're chugging right along. They are underway from Hoover, scoreless in the bottom of the 1st inning. It is Alabama and Tennessee. Tennessee going with Marcus Phillips on the mound, so they will not throw Liam Doyle today. Probably tomorrow is when you would see him if they can advance. But Tennessee trying to play their way to a host side. I think they're on the outside looking in right now. They could do some damage, though, because they're really talented, and they could make it all the way to Sunday if they play well this weekend. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that score as we move forward. On this Wednesday, we're back with more on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, Ice Cubes.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows always brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. I'm going to give you Joey Blanchard's cell phone here in a minute. You go, well, what do I need Joey Blanchard's cell phone for? Well, Joey Blanchard is the owner of Renaissance Homes and Pools, and you're going to be in touch with him throughout the process of putting in your dream pool. You contact him, you have a consultation. That part doesn't cost anything. Sit down with Joey in front of that laptop. He's got this incredible software that will literally let you design to scale the pool of your dreams. You like that? Put it in. You don't like that? We'll make a change. It's all right there in front of you. And then you start the process, mapping things out, dig that pool. Joey might be there doing some of the digging if one of his guys is on a lunch break. But he's going to be there on site with you. As they're filling it in, finishing things up, Joey will be right there with you. He's a local company. He's done it for dozens and dozens and dozens of people around Baton Rouge. So if you're looking for the pool of your dreams, looking to make that dream come true, put a pool in the backyard, Renaissance Homes and Pools needs to be your first call. It's built by Renaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. And as I said, here's Joey's cell phone number, 225-252-7745, 225 area code, obviously, 252-7749. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools. Renaissance Homes and Pools. You bring you our Wednesday shows each and every week. All right, let's play some What If Wednesday.
Space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
I'm a little scared here because I think we're leaning heavy on the chat, and I know that can get off the rails in a hurry. So let's see what the Value 4 chat has in store today. I'm confident there's some cruel intentions in said chat.
Yeah, there are some that we probably won't read. But first one here. What if there was a 3-day-long storm in Hoover?
Guys, did it even rain last night? It's no big deal. They moved one game to the next day. They're just going to move one game to Thursday. There's 3 games instead of 2. They're not even playing 4 games on Thursday. They usually play 4 games on Thursday. It's no big deal. if there is a 3-day-long storm in Hoover, they're going to have some problems on their hands. But that's not going to happen because, as I said, the forecast is pretty good, and it remains pretty good.
Okay, we're just going to keep going there. All right, next one. What if you had to get a real job? I mean, you did kind of have a real job.
I've tried that twice.
Yeah.
I did oil and gas, and I worked in oil and gas for 13 months, and literally nothing that I did over the course of those 13 months actually benefited a project that went through. It was all like laying the framework and groundwork work, and then that project didn't happen. So nothing I did was consequential at all in those 13 months. I sold insurance for 7 years, learned a lot, worked with incredible people, and I'm glad I have that knowledge of insurance just moving forward. I'm just not great at sales. I don't push people hard enough. I'm not assertive enough. I'm non-confrontational. I like to let people sit back and do their own thing. I'm not aggressive by nature. I know that most people listening despise insurance, and I understand where you're coming from. I've seen the other side of it where it's really, really helped people. I think it was a great experience for me. I'm not very good at it. And you could determine whether or not you think I'm any good at writing for a website or talking on the air for 2 hours a day. But I feel more comfortable doing those two things. Just to say it. I'm not really qualified to do it. And amazingly enough, because this is not the case for a lot of people, I'm actually doing what I went to school for, which a lot of people don't do. It just took me a roundabout way to get there. So, yeah.
All right, next one here. What if you were a teacher? What subject and grade would you teach?
You got to take a couple of things into account there. One is the age and the personalities that you're managing in a classroom.
Yep.
And the other is the subject matter that you're supposed to teach. I have not been around high school kids in a long time. I feel like I do okay in that setting. I could not handle a class of 13 of my 3-year-old right now. Like that just, like I can physically handle them. Mentally, I would lose my brain because his attention span is 2 seconds and you can't reason with him at all. So it's certainly not like a daycare preschool thing. I might be able to handle 4th grade, but again, I'm not around a lot of 4th graders either. If we're talking about subject matter, it can't be math unless
No.
I mean, I can't even do algebra anymore. I used to be decent at algebra. Once you get into like calculus and trig and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's all too long. I can't figure it out. I'm good at English. I'm good at history because it doesn't change. And you just memorize it and go. So I guess if I'm roundabout answering this question, give me 8th grade history.
What if you could do what if you could teach like a writing class? Would you want to?
I don't want to read all the 8th graders because I'm not good enough to. And this is a relative term. Let me not use that term. I'm not good enough at telling what 8th grader is good at writing because it's still at an 8th grade level and what 8th grader's not. Because I'm now used to reading professional writing. That's all I read. So I don't want to read a bunch of 8th grade papers. I'll just say whether or not they got the second president right.
And
check.
You could. Well, I guess he says teacher, so I guess I think it would disclude college because then you'd be a professor at that point.
Well, I can't. I'm not teaching college kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I could teach a
journalism class.
Yeah,
you could do it.
I would want to teach column writing and not hard news.
All right, next one here. I think we actually had this one last week about if Kevin O'Sullivan and Wes Johnson go to Mississippi State. Didn't we have that one?
I think we had that same exact question.
Yeah, I think it was like the same one. What if Hunt was the head meteorologist at WAFB?
Well, I'd have to figure out how to work the green screen. And you'd have to really avoid those viral moments with the telestrator and things like that. Live TV can be a little tricky in that way. But yeah, they don't want me because I don't know anything at all. I mean, my favorite thing is we all just pull out our phones. Like I was telling you, I was at Jazz Fest and we were about to go in and like the skies opened up and we all, like there was like 8 of us, didn't know each other, huddled around a tree. And everybody's going to their weather app and everybody's got the weather app. It's way better than the other person's weather app. You get in a foursome of golf, no one can agree on when the break is or when the rain's coming or if it's coming because their weather app's better than yours and you got weather.com and I got WeatherBug. Well, this is the one the fishermen use. Like everyone's got their weather app. I don't care about the weather app. Just all I know is I pay attention to the weather when it comes to baseball and golf. And when we start looking at the radar 4 days out, they're all wrong. So yeah, that's where I stand on that.
All right, how about this one? What if humans didn't have to eat to survive? How would the world change?
I'd be dropping a lot out of the economy. We do it's a lot of dollars and cents being spent on food.
That would probably maybe collapse. Maybe the economy would probably collapse, honestly.
It would.
Yeah.
Because then it'd all be like entertainment. And then like really all of our issues health-wise are because of the stuff we eat almost.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's kind of hard to concentrate. There's a lot of factors.
I'm not smart enough to answer that one.
Yeah. All right.
You have any more?
Yeah. Let's see. A few more here in the chat. What if Hunt had any tips on how to get a tee time at Cypress Point? Will he spill the secret?
Know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah.
Life, this is imparted upon me very, very early. Life's not about what you know, it's about who you know oftentimes. And I don't think I've capitalized on that quite as much as I'd like to, but that was one instance where I knew somebody that knew somebody, and it really paid off big time. I've told you this, but I'll tell the listening audience. There are probably people who don't know what Cypress Point is. It's an exclusive club out west, and I got on because we knew somebody. And the caddy on the 18th hole was like, hey, when you come back, like come in August, it's a completely different course. And I looked at the caddy and I was like, I'm never coming back. This was it for me. I'm this little peon out from South Louisiana who got lucky because somebody knew somebody that was on Cypress Point. This ain't happening again. Like, I may play Pebble again. I'll probably play a couple of places that you can play with a credit card. Cypress Point ain't one of them. They sent us an email that said, don't wear shorts, don't use a locker room, don't use a driving range, and please leave when you're done. Like, that's kind of what it came down to. But I won't be back, but I have those memories banked, and it was fun.
All right, last one here. What if you could choose LSU football or baseball to dominate for the next decade?
Okay. Am I supposed to just answer the question, or can I toss a caveat in?
Well, what's your caveat?
Does the other one just get to play out its string, or the other one stinks?
Well, I think to make it interesting, you'd have to say that the other team is just going to be like mediocre for that decade as well. Because otherwise, I don't see it would not be a hard choice.
I mean, for me personally, it's not even close. I'd rather the baseball team be awesome. But that's bad for my business. It's bad for this town if LSU football can't get out of neutral. And I realize that's a really important thing. So there's two answers to that question. Honestly, I'd probably take the football team dominating. It's just better for the school, better for our business, better for 98% of the people listening. And I don't think anyone that's listening is going to take that answer and go, what, you don't care about the baseball team anymore? I don't think I'm going to trick anybody that way. So I'll take the football team with an understanding that, hey, if it got flipped the other way and baseball was awesome for the next 10 years, that's just fine with Hunt. And I got a feeling baseball team's going to be just fine with number 2 in the dugout.
I think so.
That's my take on the situation. That is What If Wednesday. So I forgot I was going to do this the first segment. We're going to do it here to close out the hour. I wrote a column in February with 4 bold predictions for the baseball team. It's time to grade how I did with those predictions. We'll do that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's online is on the lot at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's all about convenience, customer service, and the relationship that you have over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. I talk about this all the time, but you're never going to set foot on that lot and feel like you're being pushed, feel like you're being pressured, feel like you're being oversold. You're going to be treated like a guest. And once you make that purchase, you're going to get some of those incredible perks that come with being a Genesis driver. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, 3 years of valet complimentary maintenance. They handle it all for you. And you get to work with some incredible people that are just very, very helpful every step of the way, whether it's people in the service aisle, sales department, management, all of it. It's fantastic over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. If you've never gotten behind the wheel, just put it on your list. They're right there on Airline, across from Women's Hospital at PQ. Gorgeous facility, phenomenal inventory, great people, and wonderful experience to be a Genesis driver. So get on by and see them. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Visit them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
All right, let's take a look back at a early February column from LouisianaSports.net for bold predictions for the 2025 LSU baseball season. It was penned by none other than myself. I went back and rewrote this with a grade of myself, but Beck, I'll let you grade my prediction. I gave myself a grade. We'll see if your grades are representative of what I thought of the predictions now that we have the benefit of all the hindsight of 55 games instead of 56. My first bold prediction, and I'll read a little bit about the blurb from it. LSU will not be swept this season. LSU got swept twice last year, once in Knoxville, one in Fayetteville. I think this team is deep. The depth in pitching and the depth in lineup means you don't have to rely on one guy, two guys that might go cold over the course of a weekend. And I felt like that LSU would stave off sweeps for the entirety of the season, knowing how tough that is, because 2 years ago, LSU was the only team in the conference that did not get swept. How would you grade that prediction, Beck?
I would grade it as a B.
A B?
Yeah.
I gave myself an F. That felt like a pass-fail, and we got swept. We got swept at Auburn.
Well,
but I mean, they didn't get swept in the other 9.
It
It
was just one
once.
time. So I would say that wasn't a terrible prediction.
I thought it was a reasonable prediction, and I am surprised it was at Auburn. I wrote in the thing that I thought the toughest 2 would be at Texas and at Texas A&M. I didn't put Auburn in there. Auburn was the one that tripped LSU up, so that one was incorrect. I had a bold prediction here, and I said it wasn't that crazy considering that Stephen Milam hit 8 home runs last year. But the point was, I think he's got more pop than you think. I think he'll hit 10 home runs and hit for more power as his LSU career progresses. As I wrote, Jerry Jones will be the most feared power hitter in the lineup. Luis Hernandez and Daniel Dickinson profile as power bats. Don't be surprised if Milan hits the second most on the team.
Yeah, that's gonna be an F.
What? He hit 10 home runs.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Milan will hit 10 home runs was the bold prediction.
Okay.
And he's got 10.
Okay, well then you got
he hit the most in SEC play.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like he just, for some reason, it seems like I guess the last month or two he hasn't been.
He had a bad year on the batting average front. He hit 200 in league play, and I mentioned that in my updated version from today. I was like, I gave myself an A- on that because it was right, but it wasn't a big year for Milam. But I do think he's got some pop in his bat, and hopefully he found something with swinging the bat in South Carolina. So gave myself an A- on that one. Anthony Ianson will lead LSU in strikeouts. As I write, he's got a fastball in the mid-90s, really good breaking ball. He struck out 85 last year at UCSD. I think that number rises this year. Cade Anderson's probably the betting favorite to lead LSU in strikeouts, but I like Ianson's track record. I think he'll lead the LSU in Ks.
I'll give you a C for that one because he was second. So.
He was second. I gave myself a B. He was 4th in the nation in strikeouts. He was 3rd in the SEC in strikeouts. So I felt like that's pretty. That was really where we were going there.
Yeah.
Cade Anderson was just awesome and got him by a little bit. So we're on the same page there. High C, low B there. But the point was right, and I wrote it because I really liked his breaking ball when I saw him in late January, and he was getting some swings and misses with it, and the gun was reading like 95, and I was going, there's some real stuff there. And then it didn't look like he had the big strikeout stuff really early, and then he struck out 15 in one of the non-conference games, and then he really got hot in league play. So I gave myself a B there. This is the most interesting one to grade. We'll see how you feel about it. Gavin Guidry and Connor Ware will both finish with at least 5 saves. Griffin Herring was the do-it-all out of the bullpen last year. I think there's enough depth on this staff for 2 guys to share that duty. I think it's Guidry with his pedigree and Ware, who's been the best LSU pitcher in the fall and early on. What do you think the grade is for that?
I would say like an A. I mean, I don't know that it's really fair because Guidry didn't pitch.
Guidry got hurt.
He got hurt. So
yeah, but Ware had none, and Guidry had none.
Yeah, so I would have to say I'd probably give you a D just because I'm not gonna give you F because it's not fair because Guidry didn't pitch. So
I gave myself a C- because they really did go to 2 closers.
Yeah,
that they used in the back end to nail down games based on kind of matchup
just
and
wasn't
whatever.
Who you said.
It just wasn't who I said. So I gave myself a C-, which is like barely a passing grade. But it was rooted in something that I thought I saw, but it didn't pan out because of an injury and one guy not progressing. I don't have a super awesome explanation for the Connor Ware thing. Like, I genuinely kind of feel bad when I mislead the LSU baseball fan base as badly as I did in this case. I wasn't alone. Jay Johnson talked up Connor Ware, said they were so lucky to get him through the draft. He might be their best pitcher. He didn't give up a run in the fall. Not one. Not in inter-squads, not in scrimmage against ULL, not an inter-squad against Samford. None. He gave up no runs. And he was throwing like 92, good changeup. Breaking ball was good enough. His strikeout numbers were good in JUCO. His brother was a really good player at Auburn. Like, I just felt like this guy's going to be a real dude. And it just never really happened. And, like, I shouldn't feel anything personally bad about that, but it kind of does because I feel like I'll kind of lean on us to go be eyes and ears and report what we see and have reasonably informed opinions. And when I tell you that Connor Ware might be the best pitcher on the staff and we get to the middle of May and he's nowhere to be found, like, that's a big whiff.
It is, but it's not. You were just saying that based on what you saw.
It was.
It's not like you. It's not like you were just going. It's not like you were going out on a limb saying, "Oh, this." I don't know. We haven't seen much from this guy, but I think he might be the best pitcher on the staff. Like you were just using the evidence that you had.
It just didn't pan out. But I think all of these were rooted in some sort of truth that wound around LSU did only get swept once this season. They won 7 of 10 conference series. So, yeah, that was a pass-fail deal, and I missed. Stephen Milam hitting 10 home runs. He did, and he was second on LSU's team. Actually tied for first on LSU's team in home runs in SEC play with 6 of them. Ianson leading LSU in strikeouts. That did not happen, but he did roll up huge strikeout numbers. Gavin Guidry and Connor Ware both finishing with the leads 5 saves. Well, Kaysen Evans and Zach Cowan each had 6. So you're talking about the 2 guys getting to that number that I had forecast, just very much the wrong 2 guys. And, man, Guidry will be a what-if for this team if it doesn't work out, because although I never felt Gavin Guidry was a dominant pitcher at LSU, when he went in, he was going to throw strikes. He was going to have a good breaking ball, which could get ground balls and could strike guys out. And he had the intestinal fortitude to get it done. Like, he'd pitched in big spots. He closed out a College World Series. It wasn't a blowout, yes, but closed out a College World Series. He pitched in huge spots in Chapel Hill last year and just never was able to get out on the mound due to that back issue. So those are my predictions that were sure to go wrong, and some did go wrong. Some were reasonably correct. You can read that in a little bit more detail up at LouisianaSports.net. All right, we'll pause for Sports Center. When we come back in the second hour, get you some sound from Blake Baker from this morning on Off the Bench, talk some football. Luke Johnson's talking Saints. In my final edition of the SEC Baseball Power Rankings, we will do that when we come back in hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. So Wednesday edition, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Pacers and Knicks renew playoff acquaintances tonight when they tip off Game 1 of the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio, 9th all-time postseason series between the teams, and the 4th in the conference finals. Trying to get a handle on Jalen Brunson will be one key for Indiana. He enters the series with 6 30-point games this postseason and is just on another level, points out Sirius XM NBA host Frank Isola.
His footwork is incredible. His shot-making ability, his ability to want to take the big shot late and make the big shot late tells you something about him. And you really look at his personality. The Knicks kind of have that personality. Everywhere that he's been, whether it's high school, at Villanova, on Dallas, he went to a conference finals. Now with the Knicks, he's back in the conference finals.
Frank Isola on Clinton and Friends. NBA will unveil this season's MVP tonight. The betting favorite, OKC's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oilers Stars Game 1 of the NHL's West Final, 8 Eastern, ESPN. The proposal to ban the tush push fell 2 votes shy at today's NFL spring meeting.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Thursday, SGA and the Thunder took Game 1 in a strong second half. I'll tell you what the Wolves need to do if they want to level up in Game 2. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Renaissance Homes and Pools, especially working towards the weekend. Score update from Hoover. Tennessee 2, Alabama nothing, as they play in the top of the 3rd inning. I guess if I'm really trying to figure out who I'm pulling for, if I'm an LSU fan in this game, I don't really have to pull a hypothetical there. I guess Tennessee winning the game is better for LSU. Tennessee's not getting a top 8 seed. Bama, if they swept through, theoretically could get a top 8 seed based on metrics, so I'll pull for the Vols. Don't usually do that, but we'll go ahead and make an exception in this case. Brady Neal's up. Wouldn't mind if he struck out. But Tennessee and Alabama from Hoover. That's the second of 4 games today. Speaking of today, Blake Baker was on with Jacob Hester on Off the Bench this morning. LSU defensive coordinator had a lot of things that he had to say. I've got a story up on LouisianaSports.net right now that kind of talks about the quotes that he used in that story, but I wanted to play some of the sound here for you here on this Wednesday, and it starts with integrating the summer enrollees who are going to be here this weekend.
Coach Blunt does a really good job integrating them right away into the veteran group when it comes to lifting and running. And then as coaches, like you said, they've usually played a lot of football. They're experienced. So you're moving at a quicker pace from an installation standpoint. Like we get a couple hours a week with our guys in the month of June. But usually you meet with those guys kind of separate and catch them up to speed really quick. With a freshman, you might be staying on day 1 install for 1 or 2 days where, it's basically like taking a mini-mester, I guess is probably the best way to put it in the academic sense.
18 new players coming in to the program on Friday and Saturday to start summer workouts. And we've talked about that aspect of this defense a ton. But what we haven't talked about as much is the guys they have coming back. and the steps forward those guys can take. And Jake asked Blake Baker today, like, who are some guys you're looking to step up as leaders?
You got to start with having Harold Perkins back. He's just a natural leader for us. He brings a lot of energy. So definitely excited to have him back. But for some of the younger guys, you know, when you look at that freshman class, Dominic McKinley, Ahmad Bro, Deshaun Spears, Devon Keys, P.J. Woodland, Gabe Relaford, that's a good group of freshmen that played a ton of snaps for us last year. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, and like we, you know, continue to talk about, we integrated with some transfers. And, you know, we talk about before we bring in any of those guys, the number one thing our job is to bring competitive depth. And so I think you're going to see some guys step up from a leadership standpoint and just from a competitive depth standpoint that maybe were kind of fringe guys for us last year.
And those fringe guys are going to have to fight for their playing time because you're bringing in like proven Power 5 commodities at a lot of different places. One guy who is not going to have to fight for playing time, in my opinion, is Whit Weeks. He was second in the SEC in tackles last year. Had just a great year statistically in terms of his production. Was it perfect? No. Was every angle he took perfect? No. Did he fill every gap? No. But it was his first year as really being the guy with Greg Penn in the middle of the defense. And obviously the biggest story with Whit is that he goes down in the bowl game, kind of a nasty-looking injury that had everybody really holding their breath. And Blake Baker talked about Whit getting back into playing shape.
He's doing really well. I mean, He talked about, you know, yesterday he was at full speed doing football drills. And more than anything, it's just a fatigue standpoint as far as the next day, you know, getting over that soreness just from using all those muscles and ligaments again. But he's dang near 100%.
Dang near 100% is a pretty good place to be as we approach the end of May. Whit has spent a lot of time in the training room over the last 5 months. Blake Baker has spent a lot of time in the training room over the last 5 months because he had shoulder surgery to kind of get that thing back to health. So he spent a lot of time with Whit there and understands how hard he's worked. And that's obviously going to be a huge part of LSU's defense moving into this year. Safety is an interesting spot because we are talking about those transfers a lot. We are talking about the addition of Tamarcus Cooley. You're talking about A.J. Halsey coming in. You're talking about Jordan Gilbert coming back, but from an injury, and then whether or not you want to put Mansour Delane back there or not. I mean, there are a lot of different options at safety. You've also got Javian Toviano, you've got Joel Rogers, and you've got Deshaun Spears. And Blake Baker has talked a lot about Deshaun Spears, and he did more of that this morning.
Deshaun Spears, you know, I've been very vocal about there was nobody harder on Deshaun Spears than me last year. And that's just because of the potential that young man has, and to see him starting to really break through this spring, not only from a tackling standpoint, a physical standpoint, his leadership out on the back end, he had a really outstanding spring.
Some of those guys, when we're at practice, just look a little bit different. And I'm not completely qualified to give you the difference in the power and the ISO and the duo runs. I'm not completely qualified to give you the exact zone beaters and man beaters that you got to use in the red zone. I understand all of those concepts. Do you need me to break them down for you on the air? No. Got a feeling our morning show is going to be pretty good at doing that this football season. But I can go out to practice and tell you physically who looks different than who. And when you watch the safeties play, Deshaun Spears looks different than all of the other ones. And that means there's upside there the other guys don't have. You don't have to be the biggest and the fastest and the strongest to be the best. Like, yeah, if you look like LaRon Landry or Eric Reed, that's awesome. But LSU's had some really good safeties in the past that weren't Adonis back there. I mean, Grant Delpit wasn't even Adonis back there. He didn't look like Eric Reed, but he had instincts, he had ball skills, he had toughness, and he was great. And that was evident in his high school years. It was evident in his college years, and then he's moved on to the NFL and been really good at that. So Deshaun Spears does have those attributes. It's just a matter of developing and making sure that he is taking the necessary steps. Last year was his first year. We'll see what this year does hold. The last one here in terms of the safeties is talking about whether or not that's the most wide open room.
There's a great mix of old and young when you look at Jordan Gilbert. You look at A.J. Halsey, you know, those two guys playing a lot of snaps. Then you got Toviano, who's kind of bounced around in the secondary, but I thought he had a really good spring. Deshaun Spears is a young guy. Mansour can go back there. Tamarcus Cooley, he had a really good spring, who's a sophomore. So I think that room is really improved from a personnel standpoint here in the last 6 months, and I cannot wait to see them on the field.
They got to play better, no doubt. I mean, Brian Kelly was adamant about that. He said it publicly. They've got to get better at safety. They got a lot of options. It is hard for me to imagine that all of those options that LSU has got at safety are all going to be underwhelming. Like, two guys have got to step forward and be really quality players. We'll see, but the odds would tell you that if you bring that many talented guys into the room, somebody steps up and becomes a really, really strong player. One guy that stepped up and became a really strong player in college and in the NFL, and now he's coaching at LSU, is Kyle Williams. And it's been interesting to hear some of the things that Brian Kelly and Blake Baker have talked about in regard to Kyle Williams. We'll start here with the transition to Kyle Williams coming into the college game for the first time and kind of get a sense of how Baker feels that going. But I think the next quote is more important. So we'll start with the transition.
It's really been seamless. I mean, it's really been quite impressive when you talk about, all the intricacies of college football. The X's and O's and the coaching part is the minimal as far as, the adjustment. But the way he's picked it up in recruiting, the way he manages his room, he's really, really impressive. And the one thing that I love about Kyle is you know where you stand. He's pretty much a straight shooter, yes. and I appreciate that. And I think he's done an outstanding job with our defensive tackles.
Here's the piece to this that is the most interesting to me, and it gives me a lot of hope. Now, let me be clear. When you go to a basketball press conference, when the new head coach is introduced, the new head coach never says, hey, we want to sit on the ball. We want to be very, very deliberate. We're going to shoot some 10-footers. And then defensively, we're going to sit back, react to what they had to do. No, every basketball coach is going to go, we want to get out in space. We want to play an exciting brand of basketball. We're going to attack you on defense. We're going to dictate the terms to you on offense. We're going to make threes. We're going to be exciting. We're going to fill the arena. That's what you say. A new defensive coordinator is going to come in football in his press conference, and he's going to go, we're going to attack. We're going to put the defense to dictate the terms to the offense. They never say, well, we'll kind of figure out what the offense wants to do, and we'll take a look at trying to maybe get in the way here and there, and hopefully on third down we can get them off the field. Like, you're always going to be attack, aggressive. Those are the buzzwords in an introductory press conference. I get that. That does not make any of these coaches unique in any way. But Blake Baker does have a reputation of wanting to be aggressive more so than reactive. I think there were times where Dave Aranda would prefer to kind of keep the game in front of him. I think there were times, especially in 2019, where Dave Aranda looked and said, it's probably best we just don't give up a very big play because we're going to score 50 points anyway. So I think that what you're getting from Blake Baker is honest, but it's a generality with defensive coaches. However, at this specific position, I truly do believe that LSU wants to get more aggressive, wants to get more dynamic. At defensive tackle, they want to go make plays instead of holding everything up to let everybody else go make plays. And that's how Kyle Williams made a living. And Blake Baker talked about that mindset and how he's coaching his players to now do that and how good a fit that is in Baker's defense.
Yeah, it was one of the first things when we sat down and kind of talked about this job opening. He talked about how the NFL has changed over the years, and that's really kind of when his career took off, when he wasn't necessarily being a two-gap defensive lineman or a defensive lineman that's holding offensive linemen off linebackers, and he's able to use his speed and quickness. That's what the game's evolved to, and that's what we want here, and that's what he views the game as. So it's all married up really well.
I love that quote because it's very simple for the average football fan to digest. When Kyle Williams had to be a two-gap guy, which means stand up the lineman and then wait and see what gap he needs to go fill and then go get in it, he wasn't good at it. When he was assigned, hey, get in that gap and screw something up for the offense, he was quick enough and fast enough to play that one gap. And that's what Blake Baker wants to be. LSU was very much a two-gap team 2 years ago. And they were slow, and they sat on blocks, and they just got crushed every which way you could get crushed because they weren't good enough to stand somebody up and then make a decision which way you're going to go. Get in a gap and go. And that's what Blake Baker wants to do, and that's what Kyle Williams did as well as anybody in the league for a long time. And now he can coach that. Now it's a matter of getting guys that can play it to his level. Not easy to do. But that's a very digestible piece of information to the average college football fan that gives me hope at the mindset, the mentality, and the coaching that's going to go into the defensive line this year. Go get in that gap and go be disruptive. And I think that's what they're going to try to do at defensive tackle. So that's a look at what Blake Baker had to say today on Off the Bench with Jake. If you'd like to read some of those quotes, I've got them detailed at LouisianaSports.net on the homepage, talking about Blake Baker, as well as some of the other things he has to say about the returning players, not necessarily all the transfers that are coming in. Some guys that he's gotten to look at for over a year. What do they look like as LSU enters the summer into fall camp in August? All right, that's LSU football for today. If you're looking for some LSU football content, hunt on LSU. No matter where you find your sound, type Hunt on LSU, all LSU football all year round. Let's talk to Luke Johnson on the Saints coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance, HighlandIG.com is that website. Storm season is just about here. We all know there's always another one around the corner. If you're a business owner, risk management guy, CFO, whatever the case may be, and you're in charge of the insurance program, do you know what your co-insurance penalty is? Do you know if your buildings are properly evaluated? What's your named storm deductible? Wind and hail, how many %? What's the rating of your carrier? Do you know if they're going to be solvent? Some of these questions are better answered now than they will be once that storm's blown through. If you don't have the proper business interruption limit or your 1/8 limitation on that, could be an issue. If all you looked at was that premium on the front end, make sure you've got a trusted broker by your side to make sure that policy is going to respond properly. And the Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carver and his whole team there are here to help you with all of it. Go check them out online at HighlandIG.com. Give them a call right here in Baton Rouge and make sure that your insurance program is set up for storm season, which is around the corner. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Luba Workers Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Our guy Joey Blanchard, more than 2 decades building, designing pools around the Baton Rouge area. If you're looking to get in the pool of your dreams, you can do it with Renaissance Homes and Pools. Check them out online, builtbyrenaissance.com. All right, Luke Johnson, good enough to move up a day for us here. Talk some Saints on this Wednesday. Luke, how are we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure, and we appreciate you being flexible for us. Offensive line, you've seen rookie minicamp, OTAs coming up. It's all about Trevor Penning and Taliesin Fuaga, and then, of course, Kelvin Banks and, what they're going to do. Do you have a read on that today?
I don't. We're going to see tomorrow exactly what they do. And I think this is something that could just, be a little fluid as the off-season program goes on. When we got to look at Kelvin Banks at rookie minicamp, he started at left tackle, moved inside the guard, played some right tackle. So they're open to moving him, and I'm assuming other people around to try to see what the best 5 is. So I think it's way too early to put a handicap on it. I think tomorrow we'll probably see some Penning at guard. We'll probably see some Banks at guard, and maybe even see Fuaga at guard, even though I don't think I would want to do that. I think they just want to see what the best 5 setup is. And both Banks and Fuaga were guys who, when they came out, were kind of considered maybe tackles, maybe guards. Penning was the only one who was a true tackle coming out. But I think if it were me, and if it worked out this way, where this is I would want to see if Penning can play guard, and see if you can take advantage of his ability as a run blocker and kind of hide his weakness as a pass blocker in space.
I said that on my show yesterday, and let's get to that in a second. But what did his rookie year tell you about Taliesin Fuaga?
I think that he can be a capable to very good left tackle, which is hard to find, right? I mean, you see teams strike out on tackle prospects all the time, and it's really a position where it's hard to find those guys outside of the top 15, 20 picks of the draft. So he played on the right side in college. Maybe he's a really, really, really good right tackle. But I think at the very base level, you have a capable to good player at the left tackle spot, which is, that just knowing that you have that, I think is nothing but a good thing. And now, obviously, we'll see if that translates when they get out of this wide zone scheme they were running under Clint Kubiak. Maybe it looks a little bit different in this new scheme, and maybe he's better suited for the right side. But I think as of right now, you just know that he can give you good football there, which is a plus.
What are the odds that Kelvin Banks doesn't start the first week, you think?
0%.
Okay. That's what I thought.
I would be just astonished if he's not part of the starting 5. Obviously, we're talking about this and, with the understanding that he's going to remain healthy. But I just don't think you invest a top 10 pick in a guy who can give you position flex on a line where you definitely have an opening for a starting position, at least one, and not start that guy week 1. Yeah, I think that is totally out of the realm of possibility.
What are the odds Trevor Penning doesn't start week 1?
A little higher, but I still think that he's got enough as a player to make me feel pretty good about him being in the lineup. Where that is, no idea. But I think I feel probably 70% certain. Maybe that's a little high, but I think 70 feels right. I think he did some good things last year, especially as a run blocker. I don't know if he's going to stick a tackle, but I think he did enough to prove that he merits another look in that starting lineup, especially when you're talking about a team that is, it's starting a young quarterback. Their expectations for the season are very low. You've got one more year to see what you have out of Trevor Penning. I think you got to give yourself an opportunity to see if he can play. And if he can't, then you have guys ready, waiting in the wings, who can play for you, and you don't have to invest in Trevor Penning next offseason.
I've often talked about in terms of the next really good Saints team, and I don't think that is in 2025. I haven't ruled out 2026, and certainly you would hope you'd be there by 2027. But what are the chances that the next really good Saints team has Fuaga and Banks and Penning and Ruiz and McCoy up front?
I mean, I think pretty good. I think the only one I'd have questions about is Trevor Penning. I think this is a big year for him. He took a big step forward last year, but that step forward was to be like an average right tackle who stayed on the field for 17 games. I think before you're committing real money to him, to have him be part of your kind of foundation for this offense, I think he's got to show that he can stack good years and improve. So I think like that would be a really good foundation. Look, you got 4 first-round picks and a high second-round pick. I think that's a way you want to build your team. So you're hoping Kelvin Banks is the guy that you assume he is as a top 10 pick, and you hope Trevor Penning can take a step forward. And then I think you got a really good setup for a capable offense. Like you cannot run a good offense without a good offensive line. So I think they made the right move in getting Banks in there and fortifying that and really giving them like a foundation to build around.
Look, the NFL's no picnic, and nobody's just got it easy. But for Penning to come in and then get hurt, and then you move around, and then you got to run a new offense, and then your coach gets fired, and then there's a new coach. Like, that's a lot for a lot of folks. How do you think mentally he's handled the last 3.5 years?
I mean, I think it was tough for him for a couple of years. That injury that he dealt with in his rookie season, and really it was 2 injuries, right? It was the turf toe that he suffered in the last week of the preseason that just like basically wrecked the majority of his season, and then in the last game, in his only start as a rookie, he got a Lisfranc injury that basically knocked out his entire offseason going into his second season, and then like he doesn't play well, and then he gets benched, and then he like never sees the field again. And I don't think he's like the kind of guy who, I don't want to put this the wrong way, but like, yeah, I think it killed his confidence. And yeah, I think it was a good thing that he got back into the lineup last year and played football and built that confidence up a little bit. And now we've seen a player have a full healthy offseason again, working with some good offensive line coaches. And a coach who has a head coach and play caller who's shown an ability to kind of maximize offensive line play. I think this could all be really good for him. But like those first 2 years were really rough for a lot of different reasons.
No question about it. Now, what do y'all have coming up for OTAs over at NOLA.com, The Advocate?
Yeah, we got a preview up on the site right now. I wrote it yesterday. And we did another podcast today, the Saints Insider podcast, which will come out at 3 p.m. So in about a half hour here, you should find it on YouTube, Spotify, etc. And then we'll have wall-to-wall coverage tomorrow.
Luke, we appreciate some time. I know the schedule's about to get a little wonky, but we'll find some time to catch up and talk Saints, man. All right?
All right, sounds good, man.
He's Luke Johnson with NOLA.com and The Advocate, LSU beat reporter on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson. As you start to kind of build these baby bricks in your foundation to try to build this next great Saints team, if you could settle that offensive front with some fairly young players, it can mean a ton. And that's the first really good place to start with a young quarterback. And then if you find a way to hit both of those, and you've got an offensive line that's got a couple Pro Bowlers on it and a young quarterback coming into his own, all of a sudden, okay, we're starting to move in the right direction. But you got to make that happen. And that's what OTAs, certainly coming up training camp, and then preseason are before what figures to be a trying year. But any progress is just that. It's progress, and we'll monitor every step of the way here on the show, and certainly wherever you, if you're looking for Saints coverage, you can find it Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcast, certainly on YouTube as well. All right, when we come back, the final edition of SEC Baseball Power Rankings. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When I say Genesis of Baton Rouge, your mind should immediately go luxury vehicle. luxury experience. But when you go luxury vehicle, luxury experience, don't automatically price yourself out. Go look. You can start the buying process online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. And part of that experience is that you can do all that from the comfort of your own home. Check out the inventory. Every car that's on the lot's online. See if there's anything you like from the sedan all the way up through the SUV, the entry level to the highest end. And if you see something, you go, that looks like something I could swing. Contact Genesis of Baton Rouge. Let them come to you. They'll come to the office. They'll come to the house. You can test drive it right there with one of their brand ambassadors who will walk you through the entire process. And if you decide, yep, this is what I want, you don't have to go to the dealership then either. You can do e-contracts. They do delivery, and you're on your way. And every single new purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Score update from Hoover. Tennessee 2, Alabama 1. They are in the bottom of the fourth inning there at the Hoover Met. Looks like a gorgeous day for baseball there. A lot of action. One game in the books. Texas A&M smoked Mississippi State 9-0 earlier today. The Bulldogs go back to Starkville and await their travel plans for next week. Texas A&M's got to win a lot of baseball games this week. They got one in the rearview mirror. Ryan Prager pitched today. So Justin Lampkin tomorrow against Auburn. And then the winner of that game will get LSU on Friday night. So we'll keep you posted here for the next 25 minutes on the goings-on in Hoover. But right now, Tennessee threatening to add to its 2-1 lead with runners in second and third and one out as Gavin Keelan steps in, who's one of the best bats in all of college baseball. 1128 OPS. That'll play. All right. We've been doing it all year long. And as I say that, Gavin Keelan singles to left. And the Vols have a 4-1 lead over Alabama. Let's do some SEC baseball power rankings.
Hunt's SEC power rankings.
All right, I put more thought into
the
these
Arkansas
than I have all year.
Razorbacks.
I put more thought into them than they have all year long. I still have Arkansas at 1. I'm sorry about that. I know that upsets many of you greatly, but I got to be reasonable here. They're number 1 in the conference in on-base percentage. They're number 3 in slugging. They're second in OPS. They're third in home runs. Their ERA is 5th. Their strikeout-to-walk ratio as a staff is 1st. Their field putting percentage is 1st. I think they're really, really, really good. I'm thrilled LSU beat them 2 out of 3, but they're really, really, really good. And there's also a really good team here in Baton Rouge as well.
The LSU Tigers.
Second best team in the league. Could be the best team in the country. I don't know. I think LSU's really, really good. Their pitching is third in the SEC in strikeouts or second in the SEC in ERA. I bet that's a stat you didn't quite know. And offensively, they've been great at home and not so good on the road. So they've got to get the offense to be more consistent once they have to leave Alex Box Stadium. That would be to go to Omaha, we hope. But I think they're really good. I got them at second.
The Texas Longhorns.
I moved Texas up a few spots. Nice job going to Oklahoma and winning. I like the addition of Max Ballou back into the lineup. And my question is with the front end of the staff. Like, Ruger Riojas has gotten hit the last couple of weeks. If they can get it to the back end and get it to Volantis, they're great. And their lineup is pretty consistent. They're not the best team in the league by my estimation. They're going to be the number 1 national seed on Monday. I'm comfortable saying that. I don't think they're the best team. I'm not going to pick them to go to Omaha. But they're good, and I got to give them their respect. They're third.
The Auburn Tigers.
Auburn fourth in the power rankings. They were swept by Texas and Georgia. But in the other 8 series, they were 7-1, and they won those series by a 17-7 count. They swept LSU. Did get beat by Ole Miss 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Dutton's slipping a little bit, but it got some guys that have pitched it, and their offense has really kicked it into high gear. Irish could have been the player of the year in the league. McMurray's got a big bat. They've got some freshmen that are growing nuts. Their offense has been better than their pitching, and their pitching was carrying them early. So I don't love Auburn as a team, but I just got to be objective about it and say that, like, they've been good.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Here's the deal. Georgia is 5th in this list, and we know their offense is good. They hit a lot of home runs. They've allowed more home runs and more walks than anyone but Missouri and South Carolina. And yeah, the home runs may be attributed to Foley Field a little bit. The walks are not. And if you walk a lot of guys and give up a lot of homers, that is a good way to lose a baseball game. And that's what gives me concern about Georgia. Their hitting is good. Their pitching can give up big innings in a hurry. So that's why I've got them at 5th.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vandy is so weird. They pitched it great. On offense, they're 14th in on-base percentage in the league, 13th in slugging, and 12th on the bad side of strikeouts, meaning only 4 teams have more than them. So that's a bad recipe to play offense, but they're pitching well enough to get by, and they've won some big series. So they're good. They could get to Omaha. They're going to be a national seed, but they have offensive issues.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
I can't quit Tennessee. I've got them in front of some teams that probably have better resumes than them, and I don't think have better teams than them. In terms of pitching, they're 3rd in the SEC in ERA and 1st in strikeouts. And then on offense, they're 2nd in homers, 3rd in runs, and 1st in OPS. That statistically does not equal losing 5 of your last 6 series. I don't know how they pulled this off, but they have with the statistics that they've rolled up. I still think that they're going to be my pick to win a regional that they're in. I think they're probably going to be a pick of mine to go to Omaha because of the talent level. But I can't dismiss the fact that they can't win an SEC series to save their life. So they're down at 7.
The Florida Gators.
Finished 14-4, including a series win against Arkansas and Texas. Liam Peterson at the top is as good as anybody. And Brody Donay and that offense are swinging the bat. They may have lost Luke Heyman. We'll see how that goes. But they had such a bad start, I can't just completely dismiss it, but they've crept up. I got them number 8.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Big win against Auburn in the season finale. That was good. 2 out of 3 from them. Kept them in the hosting picture right now. They did lose 4 of their last 6 series, however. they rely too much on the home run ball, but Hunter Elliott is really good, and he could be an X factor in a regional if he throws his fastball for strikes. So I like Ole Miss. Do I like him as much as the rest of the top half of the league? No, but I got him at 9.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
This is going to be low for some people, but they've lost 5 of their last 6 non-Missouri series, if I can put it that way. Pitching has allowed more hits than anyone besides Missouri and South Carolina, which is a concern when you give up that much contact. So they got flaws. They're losing some games, but they do have some positives to them. We'll see if they can win this game and try to get a top 8. Right now, they're probably just a host, but I got them at 10.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
They got Kyson Witherspoon. That makes them a problem as a 2 seed in your regional if you're not in the SEC. But 14th in the SEC in runs scored, 13th in home runs, and 9th in ERA with a first-round pick in your rotation. Not great there. Got them down at 11.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
They did what they needed to. They swept Kentucky, swept Missouri down the stretch, got 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss, a 9-1 finish under their interim head coach, Parker. But they'll be a traveling 2, maybe a 3. They're in. We'll just see what they can do and what they decide to do with Pico Con when they get to the regional. State at 12.
Texas A&M!
Worst batting average in the SEC. That's, if you would have told me that in January, I'd have laughed at you. Worst batting average in the league. Second fewest doubles in the league. They hit a lot of homers, but that's really it. And their pitching is 14th in the league in strikeouts, which puts a lot of pressure on your defense, which also hasn't been good for A&M. So talent level, they're better than this, but there's no metric that I can put them up on. They don't win games. They don't hit homers. They don't win series. The metric would be nice series wins, but they lost a bunch of bad ones too. So A&M at 13.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Couldn't get a win against Vanderbilt in the last one and then lost in the SEC tournament as well. There's just not a calling card on this Kentucky team. They cheer loudly from the dugout. They play hard, but they don't. The good Kentucky teams in the last few years never struck out and played elite defense. This team strikes out a little bit more, doesn't play defense at that level. They're probably going to get in the tournament, but they'll be watching intently on Monday.
The Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, finished with Missouri at 15. South Carolina took the bottom spot, but it's because Missouri played out of their minds for 3 days, and South Carolina didn't really show anything. They did beat LSU once. They beat Zach Cowan, but I'll put Missouri. Missouri at least hit a little bit down the stretch. South Carolina didn't do anything. Give me Missouri at 15.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Sorry, Coach Maneri. I don't have anything else to say. That's 16. Got to go hit the transfer portal. It opens in 2 weeks. So that's your last SEC Power Rankings. I will take next week and probably at some point compare the last to the first. But the last one, Arkansas at number 1, LSU at 2, Texas at 3, Auburn at 4, Georgia 5th, Vanderbilt 6th, Tennessee at 7, Florida at 8, Ole Miss at 9, Bama at 10, Oklahoma 11, Mississippi State 12, A&M at 13, Kentucky's at 14, Missouri 15, South Carolina 16. How do you feel, Beck?
It's okay. I do the Tennessee at 7 is still. I understand where you're coming from, but at some point you've got to just look at what they've accomplished, and which is
they never got swept.
They didn't. But LSU got swept once, but they're still this.
Texas got swept.
Yeah,
LSU got swept.
A lot of teams got swept, but they're still really, really good.
Auburn got swept twice. Georgia got swept twice. Vandy got swept twice.
I mean, I'll give them credit for not getting swept, but they still lost all those series. Like it's still, to me, I just don't think that I would have. I mean, I don't know. It's tough, but having them at that high, it seems a little bit much.
The better discussion is really not whether they're the 7th best team or the 9th best team or the 4th best team. It's how you could post that conference record and lose that many series in a row.
Well, yeah.
With those stats. 3rd in ERA, 1st in strikeouts, and an offense, 2nd in homers, 3rd in runs, and 1st in on-base plus slugging. That's as good as you can build a team. They can't beat anybody.
Did they? I mean, I haven't looked at their schedule, but they must have lost a lot of one-run games.
I mean, they lost a heartbreaker in Baton Rouge. They lost a lead late against Vanderbilt. They went to Arkansas and got knocked around in 2 of those games. They won the 3rd one. Trying to think. I don't know. I just can't. I can't figure that out. I mean, there's one massively glaring issue that I don't know if they can rectify or not. Marcus Phillips was literally allowing like 6 and 7 stolen bases every time he started. And that's an impossible way to win because if you put a guy on and he's at third base 5 pitches later, it's hard to win that way. But that's really the only like glaring thing. Their defense is okay. They've got like Snead is a stud in the back end of the bullpen. Doyle is the LCC pitcher of the year. It's a bizarre deal. And I don't know if they're going to host or not. I'll look at the metrics come Sunday and decide how I feel about it. Right now, I think they're probably on the outside, but it's close. I'm going to pick them to win their regional because I just think that you send them to Coastal Carolina. I think they're going to be a problem for Coastal Carolina because if they can beat some 3 seed with Marcus Phillips and then they throw Doyle out there at Coastal, who hadn't seen anybody who looks like that in their life, they're probably going to win that game.
Yeah, whichever regional they get sent to, that team is going to be extremely upset about having to have them in their regional. I mean, that's just absurd.
Yeah, and Doyle doesn't lose very much. Although I will say this. I tweeted this out, and a bunch of people said, why do you look up stupid stuff? I just look up stupid stuff. It's what I do. Arkansas was 2-0 against Skeens in 23. They beat him at the box in a 2-1 game that Hagen Smith pitched, and they beat him in Hoover. And then last year they beat Liam Doyle when he was at Ole Miss, and this year they beat him when he was in Fayetteville for Tennessee. So they were 4-0 against Liam Doyle and Paul Skeens. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's some pretty good stuff from the Hogs.
Are you telling me that influenced your decision to have Arkansas at number 1, Hunt?
It did not.
Okay.
But that's impressive nonetheless.
It is.
I just was really impressed with Arkansas in person. I know that LSU beat the brakes off them in the second game. But I like LSU. I think LSU can win the national championship.
Would you say, I mean, like, I know you can't do this in the actual rankings, but would you, I mean, I feel like I would say, honestly, for the top, I'd say it's like 1A, 1B, 1C. I don't think there's much separating.
I don't think Texas is as good as LSU or Arkansas.
Okay.
I think without Spencer, and they're good. I'm not going to pick them. I'll probably pick them to win their regional. I probably pick against them in the
It's almost like Texas, even though they won the SEC, you still, it's almost like they're less. You value that record.
I think their
less.
schedule was very easy, and I give them a ton of credit for navigating it because the SEC's the schedule was as gift wrapped as it could be. The one time they had to really go on the road, they got boat raced in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
They went to Norman. They went to Starkville. They went to They went to Missouri. They didn't go to South Carolina, but they went to some places that are very doable. And that's. I mean, LSU got a really advantageous schedule.
They went to Kentucky. They went to Lexington.
I mean, that's Mississippi State. I had 12. Oklahoma had 11. Kentucky, I had 14. Missouri, I had 15. So that's 4 in the bottom 5 that I had in the league. And then I think they went to.
That's it. Other than you got all of them.
Yeah, other than Arkansas, and they got crushed at Arkansas. So great year, deserve it. Coach of the year, deserve it. SC champs, deserve it. Number 1 overall seed, deserve it. Do I think the team is that good? I don't. I think Wahiba Lloyd just hit. I mean, somebody for Alabama just hit one a ton. But we'll talk about the score when we come back and close things out on this Wednesday.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love reminding you about our friend David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. He's been at this 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. It's not just showers, not just closets. They can also do vanities and everything else that goes in the bathroom. You spend a lot of time in the bathroom. Is it old? Is it dated? Is it functional? If it's not, well, give some thought to allowing David Duvall to come in and handle some work for you there. Don't just call the handyman down the street, see what he can do for some cash. Go with somebody who's licensed, bonded, insured, has a master plumber on staff, and can handle a variety of different things from the closets to the bathroom. Tub to shower conversions, vanities, customized closets. Check out their great work on their website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You will be impressed. You can get that free consultation sometime this week. Call David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. They're online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Should be a good evening of SEC baseball from Hoover right now. Tennessee and Alabama are playing. Vols lead 5-1 in the. I passed a test for my driver's license today, but I cannot read that inning.
That is 5.
I was a little concerned about the test, to be honest, at the place I got the new the real ID today.
Oh yeah.
But I passed it. I cannot read that number though. The 5th. I do know that it's 5-2. That Tennessee leads Alabama. If Alabama loses this game, all hope for national seeds are done. They'd have work to do even if they did win this game. But if you're LSU, you're trying to hang on to that one of those last 3 or 4 national seeds. I think right now they would be with the loss. Can kick Alabama right on out of there. So we'll pull for the Vols the rest of the way here. But that's not all the baseball that is going to be played at the Hoover Met today. Obviously, in the first game, you saw Mississippi State and Texas A&M. A&M clobbered the Bulldogs by a score of 9-0. Later on today, Oklahoma and Georgia at 4:30, and then Florida and Ole Miss, the nightcap tonight, starting at about 8 o'clock. So look forward to watching a little bit of that. Beck, do you have any take it or leave it?
Hold on, Cassie
does.
I have a take it or leave it today.
All right, well, hold on. Let's start it real quick.
Take it or leave
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it. Okay, so this morning I did OTB, and according to Jacob Hester, you owe him a steak dinner. Take it or leave it.
I will take that. I absolutely do. I can't believe he's still referencing this. I made a wonderful wager. It was a great play. It was bold. It was ambitious. It was the right line to be on, but it did lose.
What was it, Hunt?
I thought that Les Miles would never win a Big 12 game as long as he was the head coach of Kansas. Thought he would go 0 for his entire career. And he won one on a blocked field goal that got fumbled in overtime. So that was years ago. Yes, it was.
He's still holding a grudge.
Why?
He still wants his steak dinner.
It's not a grudge. You bet him and you owe him a steak. So why has it not happened yet, Hunt?
I don't want to pay for the steak.
But you made the bet.
Because I thought it was a good bet and I deserved more credit.
Okay, but you lost.
If he had won like 9, it would be a blowout. The only one he won was a fluke.
Hunt, a bet is a bet, Hunt. You lost the bet.
But I had a great bet. It was a great bet by me.
Okay, yeah, we can all agree that it was a good bet, Hunt, but you lost. You gotta come correct.
I don't think so.
I think you do. It's pretty.
Jake likes to bring that up on the air.
Yeah, well, you owe him.
It's not. I phrased that wrong on the spot. It's not that I mind paying for the steak, no matter if that's just garden variety or whatever, or
you're just mad
one.
that you lost.
I'm mad that I lost the bet because it was a great bet. Because it was a terrible hire. I called it out at the time. They should have never won a league game the whole time he was the coach there, and they did on a fluke. And I'm salty about it. So therefore, I've reneged on the bet, and it's a bad look.
It is a bad look, and you could easily remedy it by simply getting a steak dinner.
Maybe the mood will strike me. Now that we're neighbors, I might be able to help him out.
And you're neighbors too. That's just
it is sad.
That's pretty sad, Hunt.
Show's about to end.
All right.
I'll think about giving Jake a steak. Maybe not.
The Hunt Palmer Show.